Good evening and welcome to this Wednesday night edition of Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. We are kicking off tonight what I'm calling Jazz Week. I'll explain that to you. Feedback starts now. As I said, good evening and welcome to this Wednesday night edition of Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. Tonight, there's going to be some singing in the studio. We've already had some rehearsals. It sounds wonderful. Joining us tonight is a jazz vocalist from the Pittsburgh area, Lisa Hindmarsh. She'll be speaking with us coming up in a little bit, and she's also going to be here performing with the Clarion University Jazz Band. There you see them on the next set over. We're going to be heading over there a little bit later to perform, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Lisa, talk to her about her career, talk to her about this CD. We're going to be showing you some more of this as the show goes on. Stay with us. Feedback continues after the break.
Portion of the programming was made possible through a grant by Fox's Pizza Den. Fox's Pizza Den is located on Old Route 66 in Clarion and offers all-day delivery. Phone 226-5555. That's 226-5555. Fox's Pizza Den is open 7 days a week for your convenience. Phone 226-5555.
Wardrobe for some TV5 news anchors provided by Fashion Bug, located in the Clarion Mall. Whether you're looking for junior trendy, girls, or fashion for women, they have it all, with many different styles. Fashion Bug also offers a wide selection of accessories. Fashion Bug is located in the Clarion Mall, just off of Exit 9 of Interstate 80. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. till 9 p.m., and Sunday from noon till 5.
This portion of the programming was made possible through a grant from Clarion Hospital. Clarion Hospital is located off of Exit 9 of Interstate 80. Clarion Hospital offers outpatient services, transitional care, as well as an emergency room open around the clock every day of the year. More than 400 employees and 80 physicians work to serve the community. Call the Clarion Hospital at 226-9500. Clarion Hospital, providing health care to Clarion County and surrounding communities since 1954. Do you want complete coverage of local, state, national, and international news as it happens? Then tune into Clarion's very own TV5 News Live for complete coverage of the Clarion area and our world. TV5 News crews join with crews from the world's news leader, CNN, to provide complete coverage of the day's events. With advanced satellite capabilities, TV5 News can bring you the latest news as it happens. So tune in every Tuesday and Wednesday night for Clarion's very own TV5 News Live. Welcome back to this Wednesday night edition of Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. Fun show for you tonight. It's because fun's going to start. The real fun is going to start when we get some singing a little bit later. But we're going to talk for a while. Joining me now is Lisa Hindmarsh, and she was so kind enough to join us today. We'll be singing with us a little bit later. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let me first show off the CD here. Lisa's CD. Tell us, tell us about the CD. Is this your first CD?
Yes, it is.
And what Give us the spiel. Why should we pick up the CD?
Well, because you'll help me finance the next one.
Oh, okay. Well, that's as good a reason as any, I guess.
Right. Actually, the CD was released at the end of last year. It was the product for me of many years of collecting songs in my travels of things that I thought, if I ever made a recording someday, things that I'd really like to have on it. And the 12 songs that are on here are what kind of made the cut. And finally, I had the resources in terms of both time and financial resources about 2 years ago to really start thinking seriously about doing it. Was able to find some very talented musicians to work with, and so through a long process of really about a year of fitting in sessions when we could get everyone together, we finished it at the end of 2000, and here it is.
Here it is. So then this is not really your life. I mean, this hasn't been your life singing jazz music. What's your background? How did you get into it? Because you've been collecting these songs, but this is your first CD.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing the rest of your life, per se?
Right. I've been singing professionally really since I was 16, so for a long time. But I've done many, many different things musically in the course of my life. I started out singing in a top 40 band. Yeah, that was the 70s disco era. So that was really my first professional singing. I went to college. I got a bachelor's degree and a master's in voice. So I was trained in opera, and I sang lots of classical music for those 7 or 8 or 10 years. Lived in Cleveland for a while and supported myself in wedding bands and, working in clubs. But I was doing all pop music back then, and it's still, I think I was on a search through that whole period of time for just what it really was that spoke to me the most musically. Mm-hmm. And yet along the way, certain songs would really stick with me. And when I pulled all those songs out of my brain about 2 years ago, the surprising thing to me was that they were all jazz standards. And that was something that hadn't even really occurred to me. I had always thought of jazz as something that was kind of up here and something that I might not be worthy of doing, because there's a tendency, I think in America especially, for many people to regard jazz as something that's over their heads or elitist, or you have to be a sophisticated person, whatever that means, to appreciate jazz. And I think maybe I fell into that same little bit of myth, and was delighted to find out that the songs that had had the most meaning for me over the last 20 years of my life were really jazz standards. And so I thought maybe this is worth investigating. And so it was time to pull out lots of other jazz standards as well. And lo and behold, it was like, at my advanced old age, a door just opened for me. And I'm not going back. I mean, I finally found the music for me to be doing. And this is, so here I stay with jazz.
So you speak to, you kind of alluded to it, but I agree with you. I think that some people do think of jazz as this elite form. That's why it's on public radio. A lot of
yes,
it's on NPR or whatever. That's elite. Speak to the power of the music, because sometimes I don't think people realize how powerful one song is. Maybe even give us an example of one song that if you can think of on top of your head that has been powerful to you specifically.
Well, one of the things that's interesting to note that certainly subsequent generations have forgotten is that in the 1940s, jazz was the pop music of the day. Frank Sinatra was the Backstreet Boys, if you will, of the 1940s. I mean, he was the most popular thing going, and even into the 50s, really until the Beatles came along, jazz was the primary form of pop music. Everybody was listening to songs like Don't Get Around Much Anymore, Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most, Lullaby of Birdland. I mean, those are the things people were hearing on the radio, and it really was only with the advent of what we know as modern rock music that the Great American Songbook, which is that body of music that's most often treated as jazz standards, fell off the map. But we're seeing now one of the most popular albums on the Billboard pop charts is Diana Krall's The Look of Love. Diana Krall is a jazz singer, and she's doing those songs that were popular 60 years ago. And I think it's really wonderful that she has exposed a young audience to this really timeless music that never goes out of style. That's the power to me of jazz music. It never goes. It may go out of fashion, but the themes of these songs are completely timeless. They translate to every generation.
Okay, so the CD's been nominated
Yes.
for an award. It's for Best Cabaret and Torch Jazz Album of the Year. Now, I'm familiar with cabaret. I don't know what Torch is.
Well, I think they were looking possibly for a category to fit the jazz singers into.
Oh, okay.
In this case. Torch music are songs that you would tend to think of as almost blues. They can be a little over the top vocally. The closest I come to that really on this CD is the last track on there called When the Sun Comes Out. It's just it's a slow, sustained kind of singing that sort of builds in intensity as you go. That's what's considered a Torch song.
Okay. So you've been nominated. I mean, what's your reaction? It was by just plain folks?
Just plain folks. And what they are is really the largest organization in this country that supports independent artists. And what I mean by independent artists are artists who are not signed to a recording label, not necessarily signed with a management company. It's basically those of us on our own who either possibly with some financial backing or other resources, but really have taken it upon ourselves to produce our own music. And Just Plain Folks is made up of over 12,000 members. They're nationwide, and their goal is to be a networking and resource organization for independent artists. It's made up of lots of industry professionals, agents, producers, publishers, educators, and along with those of us who are professional musicians. And so they hold this awards ceremony in Hollywood. So it's a pretty big deal every year to recognize what they consider to be the outstanding submissions of the year in independent music. And so I was chosen out of an initial pool of about 2,400 submissions, was narrowed down to as you would hear on the Grammy Awards, there are several different categories of nomination, everything from rock music to world music to rap to R&B to jazz. And so there are 28 different subgroups, and I just I'm one of 6 nominees in my subgroup. So from an initial pool of 2,400, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, congratulations on that then.
Thanks.
Inspirations. Now, you said you kind of went along for all these years playing in a band and singing with,
Yeah.
and you came across these pieces of music which have kind of the CD. But is there anyone out there who has kind of inspired you along the way? Any specific singers or just specific musicians out there who really impacted your style and your life?
Sure. Interestingly, one of the first vocalists I ever really listened to was Nancy Wilson. And for your younger audience, it's not the Nancy Wilson who sings in the group Heart. This is Nancy Wilson, who was very popular in the 50s and 60s as a jazz singer. And my father is a jazz musician also. He plays the Hammond B3 organ. And I grew up with all these jazz albums around me. And Nancy Wilson was one of the first singers I ever listened to. But I was also a young kid in the 70s, and Karen Carpenter was popular then. And she was really the first singer who I thought, oh, I want to be just like her. And Barbra Streisand, of course. I think every young girl who ever had dreams of being a singer was, idolized Barbra Streisand. So earliest, in terms of early singers, I would say they are the ones who had the biggest impact on me.
And that's played out through your music, I guess?
Well, it did early on, sure.
Yeah.
It did early on. One of the highest compliments I've ever received in my life was someone who told me that I phrased like Barbra Streisand. Because I think one of Barbara's great gifts, among so many others, is the ability to really tell a story when she sings. I think she could sing the phone book, as I've often heard that said. Someone could sing the phone book and it would sound great. And she's one of those people because she really takes the time to understand every word and thinks about what that means to her life experience. And that's what I try to do in every song I sing. I take the lyrics and I write them out, I read them independent of the music, and I think, now, what does my life experience bring to this song, and how can I communicate it in that way?
Trained in opera.
Yeah.
Isn't it an odd transition? Because it's someone would think, well, opera is very rigid, and here you have jazz, which is by its nature free.
Right. It's the absolute opposite, isn't it?
How do you how does that work for you?
Yeah, I don't know if I can account for that for sure. I think the best thing I could say to that is that my earliest background, before I went to college, was popular music. It was Karen Carpenter, it was Barbra Streisand, it was Nancy Wilson, it was Sergio Mendes in Brazil 66, where I got my first exposure to Latin music, really, and Brazilian music. And then when I went to college, I think there was some little thing working in me subconsciously all along, you know, that was there before I got the training in opera. But I think it was wonderful that I did, because the great thing that classical training gives you, and I think I could say that this translates to any instrument, but primarily the voice, because singing is really a whole body experience. And I think the best thing that training in opera gives you is the understanding of how your body works in singing. It takes tremendous physical stamina to sing opera. And so the technical part of it, the technique, stayed with me. Yes, you do have to discard some of what you've learned in order to, obviously I wouldn't want to be standing up there singing like I was singing an opera aria.
Right.
So in essence, I had to let that part of it go while maintaining the body process and the understanding of how the breath works and how your muscles work to support that sound.
So some people, you know, just think, oh, a jazz singer is going to go out there and sing. There's a lot. I mean, you're certainly putting a lot into it. Second to last question here. Then we'll talk about where to get the CD. But how do you think jazz fits in current culture, where we're listening to, like you said, the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and this is what is being inundated in the culture, but we're not here. I mean, like you did mention, you know, Diana Krall there, but that isn't. I can't. You know, I'm not turning on the radio and hearing these people.
Exactly.
You know, how do you think that the jazz fits into the culture? Obviously, I think you want to see more of it, I would presume.
I would love to see more of it, but I'm also very encouraged that many colleges nowadays are offering jazz studies majors for for musicians, and even for singers, which historically has not been the case. I think 20 years ago when I was in college, there might have been one school in the whole country where a singer could go and study jazz. Now, there are schools all over the place that are offering solid education in jazz for their instrumental and vocal people. So I'm excited about that, because what that does is ensure that the torch will be passed.
Right.
There are a lot of youngsters who are just on fire about this music, and that's exciting to see. And listen to commercials on TV sometime. You'd be amazed how many commercials have jazz as their soundtrack.
That's a good point.
It does creep in to the culture. No, it's not being played on top 40 radio, but it's always being played. You can turn on pretty much any national public radio. Yes, it is public radio, but it's there.
Right.
You can turn on any national public radio station probably and hear jazz, if not all week, at least at some point during the week. People like Diana Krall, Jane Monheit is another young singer who's made inroads into the pop charts. It's going to come back, because people now especially, I think, are looking for simplicity.
Right.
And they're looking for things that make them nostalgic now, as we know the events of the last month, for a time when we were more innocent. And I can see a time coming when this music is going to be back out there in front again, because it's wonderful, melodic, sophisticated music. It never, and I mean sophisticated in the sense that it transcends fads.
Okay.
It's going to outlive.
We're going to go ahead and take a break, and we're going to come back and hear some of this music and try to put it back into. And when we come back, we will also mention how you can get the CD. Stay with us. The fun part of the show, the exciting. Not that this wasn't fun, but we're going to actually hear Lisa sing coming up after the break. Stay with us.
I am an American. I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I
am an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
You'd never know it on the battlefield, but nearly half of today's military are National Guard and reservists. However, they can't answer our nation's call without their employer's support. If you're an employer, Visit esgr.org and find out how to do your part. After all, their response depends on yours.
The tools needed to rebuild lives after a disaster aren't always hammers and nails. The tools needed to give warmth to the homeless. When lives need rebuilding, the Salvation Army knows it takes tools that come from the heart. Donate online or call 1-800-SALARMY.
All right, welcome back to Feedback. I'm Mark Gazzarakis. As I said, the fun part, we're actually going to hear some singing. Lisa's going to sing for us. The CD is Now I Know. We'll show it again later. And real quick, where can you get the CD?
You can buy it. You can special order it from any record store. You can just go in and ask for it by name. Or I have a website, and you can order it online through Amazon.com and a website called CD Baby, and also directly from me through the mail. And the instructions for that are on my website.
All right, it's LisaHindmarsh.com, and we'll show that a little bit later. So you're here with the rhythm section of the Clarion University Jazz Band. We're going to let you go ahead and perform. The song is Social Call. We'll let you go to it.
Happened to pass your doorway, gave you a buzz, that's all. Well, maybe I thought some about you, so I thought I'd pay a social call. Do you recall the old days? We used to have a ball. Now it's not that I'm lonesome without you, I just thought I'd pay a social call. I lie and say things are just grand, but to tell the truth, I haven't been too well. And if you should try and kiss me, well, I promise I won't stall. And maybe we'll get back together, starting from this incidental, elemental, simple social call. Well, I lie and I say things are just grand. But to tell the truth, I haven't been too well. And if you should try and kiss me, well, I promise I won't stall. And maybe we'll get back together, starting from this incidental, elemental, simple, social
Now this isn't on the CD, right?
No, it is not.
This is the first time. Am I correct?
This is the very first time I've ever sung this song.
And it was absolutely fantastic. We're going to talk to you in a minute, and we're going to meet up with Royce, the director of the jazz band here. But I want to take the chance to introduce these musicians. All these guys are from here at the university, so I'm going to just give them all a chance to introduce themselves and what their major is.
My name is Nick Bayshore. I am a junior music business major.
Okay, playing piano over here and on drums.
My name's Tony. I'm a marketing major.
Marketing major.
Right.
What are you doing in the jazz band?
It's just a hobby. It's a hobby, basically.
Well, great. Thanks for coming down. And what's your name?
My name is Lee Patrusik. I'm a library science major.
And another non-music major. That's kind of interesting that we have two of the three of these guys aren't music majors. And my director, Roy Tetrick, is here. How are you doing?
Good.
You're on the trumpet?
Enjoyed playing with Lisa today. It was really nice to put the rhythm section together from one of our jazz bands and get a chance to play good tempo swing tune.
Well, I think I want to make a point here. This is kind of interesting that this is the first time the three of us have ever actually been in the same room together. This was all done by way of email, and you did the arrangement. So how did this go on your end? How did this all pan out? Having never met Lisa except by email.
Well, really, through the entity of music, it made it really easy to do because of the music itself. We're able to play music, and she decided the arrangement and got it to us. We rehearsed it and put it together today.
And I mean, you guys didn't rehearse that long. It was probably about an hour before the show. Mm-hmm. And I think it's phenomenal what you're able to put out. What is it like for you? I mean, you have a band back at home that you work with, coming and just all of a sudden working with 4 people you met this afternoon.
Oh, it's great fun. That's one of my very favorite things about jazz is the ability to just create right on the spot, you know. We have a framework for what we're doing, and that's what the arrangement is, but it also allows for the freedom to be spontaneous and creative, and that's what we did.
And this was loads of fun. It sounded great. But if you want to hear more of Lisa's work, here's the CD, Now I Know, Lisa Hindmarsh, and you can get it on the website. There it is, www.lisahindmarsh.com. And what if we want to hear the jazz band? How can we hear these guys?
Actually, we put out our first CD
this
spring, so we're going to do that, I think, in the spring semester each year. Put a CD together, and it's nice for everyone to have the CD, and plus to get our name out and get our music out to the different people.
How can we get that?
Right now it's at the university. Just come to the music department, and our music department office has that at 393-2287.
And then I'm sure there'll be performances coming up this month.
Certainly, yes. Our fall performance is November 28th, I believe.
Great. Well, thank you guys for coming up. We're going to go ahead and take another break right now. When we come back, actually, you guys are going to play us out of the show a little bit later, but we're going to go ahead and take a break right now. We will be back to wrap things up. Stay with us. Feedback continues after the break.
Violence. We're stronger than you. You can't hold us back. Violence. We know what it takes to blow past you.
And violence, we're just getting going.
On September 11th, America faced terrorist attacks of the worst kind. Innocent lives were lost, and a sad cloud was cast over this great nation. These acts were intended to cause fear among all Americans, including our children. But we cannot let that happen. There are things we can do to help our kids. Talk with them, listen to them, tell them they're safe and that they're loved. God bless you, and God bless America.
It may not look like it, but you're watching the future of the Earth pass by. Because many of these products are made from materials you've been recycling. But to keep recycling working, you need to buy products that say, made from recycled materials. For all those next in line, it would mean the world to them.
Take Simmons.
Yeah. Jimmy Jones.
Anderson.
Smith.
Lightfoot.
Bishop.
Hernandez.
Swifta.
Harris.
Lavender.
Peavy.
Yes.
In the game of life, you've got a much better chance at getting picked for a cool job with great pay if you take algebra, geometry, and calculus. You need to know how math can improve your future. Demand it. Call NACME. We'll tell you.
Back quickly, running out of time. Lisa, I want to say thanks again to you. LisaHindmarsh.com. You hear the jazz band already performing behind us. They're going to play us out. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you.
It was a great time. We'll let the jazz band play us out. We'll see you. See you tomorrow.